we find ourselves in a situation so similar to where we were about 1 year ago as we learned the news that Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg had died. I'm sure you probably remember where you were when you heard the news or how you felt in response. And it doesn't feel like it was that long ago in many ways. And now we are feeling the impact once again of that loss and what's going on in the state of Texas and the Supreme Court's refusal to even take a look at this unconstitutional ban against abortions there in the state. So one of the things that I've been thinking of in this moment is how I was feeling a year ago. And how at the time I felt this compulsion to respond immediately to this momentous news, this horrifying news, this news that caused collective grief for so many of us, to know that this person who had protected so many of our rights was no longer going to be able to do that. And what that vacancy on the court meant. And one of the things that we learned at our CRC is the importance of pausing to tend to that emotional reaction and to give ourselves space to grieve and not necessarily take immediate action. And I've been reminded of that because I felt a very similar compulsion this week when we found out the news about what was going on in Texas, what was the ban that was about to be implemented, and then the refusal of the Supreme Court to even review it. And I was watching other partners and thought leaders reacting, and I thought, why can't I react? Why don't I have something to say about this? And I think it was very much because I was having an emotional reaction to devastating news. And I think sometimes in these moments, we forget to tend to our own humanity. And I think something that I've been reminded of is just how critical it is for us if we are going to respond to injustice like this, that we must stop and tend to ourselves and to our people and to our communities and really give ourselves permission to deeply feel what it is in our bodies, in our emotions, in our thoughts, really to pay attention to what's going on. Because if we don't do that, we often can get caught up in these sort of reactive cycles that are sometimes detrimental to the kind of change that we want to see in the world. And so my encouragement to you all as we continue to kind of process and understand the implications of this ban, that we are very mindful of our own needs and that we tend to them so that we can show up and do the work. Once again, I think what comes up for me in moments like this as I see people reaching out to me and saying, what can I do? What can I do? Is to remember that for some of us, this might feel like something that just happened out of the blue, but organizers on the ground have been anticipating this coming for a long time. And I think what is most important in these moments is to ask ourselves, what role can I play to support the work that has already been going on for a long time? What can I do to amplify, support, add to, enhance the leadership on the ground that's already been going on? That's what pausing has allowed me to do, is to remember that I do have a distinctive role to play, and it's not to do everything and anything, right? It's a very specific role that I'm being called to play, and a very specific role that our CRC is being called to play. So I think asking ourselves those kinds of questions is really important before we respond. So along those lines, as I'm sure many of you have seen, I think the most important thing that we can do right now, in addition to tending to our own needs, is to support activists on the ground. We'll include a link in the description of this video, how to support Texas abortion funds. These are the folks who have always found a way to get people the care that they need. And it's most important right now that we support their efforts on the ground, because they're going to be the ones figuring out the logistics of how people get care outside of Texas. So I'll just leave you again with those two pieces. Tend to yourselves and to your emotions. They're really, really important. And then think about the ways that you can best support and amplify the work that's happening on the ground. You know, this is not going away. We know we're going to see similar legislation coming up in other states. And so I just encourage you all to really think about how now is the time for us to take care of ourselves. And if we can genuinely do that, we're going to have more to offer the movement and the people who are in need of services. So please do take care of yourselves. I'm sending you all of my love, and stay strong. We will always find a way to make sure that people get the care that they need. So we're in this together. And again, take good care of yourselves.